Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, my friends, we are going to be testing out Radeon RX 6600 GPU, not in one or two or three games. We're going to be testing 9 games, but with a twist. We're going to be actually using AMD's Fluid Motion Frames that they've enabled on the RX 6600 or 6000 series GPUs, and we're going to see that how these games actually run with those with that setting actually turned on. So as you can see right here, let me just show you this in the options. As you can see this game here, we have AMD Fluid Motion Frames enabled here, and this option, what this does is actually this is a frame generation technique that is available in our driver level. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go with 9 games and we're gonna see in every game how it's gonna run. Now let's go first for our system specs. We're using a Ryzen 5 3600, that is a 6-core processor. Nothing is overclocked. We're using a memory that is 16 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, that is 3200 megahertz. We're going to be using a Radeon RX 6600, that is a Gigabyte model, and that is also not overclocked. So let's head on right with it and see how we perform. The first game that we're going to be testing today is Assassin's Creed Mirage. And first of all, let's get some things out of the way, guys. AMD actually recommends for using AFMF, you have to have a minimum of 60 FPS at 1080p. And I've actually gone ahead in the settings and enabled some settings which have made me get about 60 FPS average, as you can see right there in game, in order to get about AFMF to work properly. Now first let me show you guys the settings. We're using full screen 1080p and we are using ultra high settings and FSR2 on quality. Alright, and with these settings, actually let me show you the MSI Afterburner layout. We're getting like 65 FPS average, as you can see. Sometimes as I'm recording right now, sometimes I get a little bit of stuttering while recording, so that's not an issue. While gameplay, it's very smooth, and as you can see on the top right corner of the screen, you are getting like 100 FPS. So this is very playable now. With 100 FPS, it looks very smooth and performs very smooth. Also, the game is not lagging very much now. Alright, as you can see right there. Sometimes when it decreases from 60 FPS, you can see that the screen becomes a little bit smudgy. And that's why it's recommended for you guys to be at least at 60 FPS in order to observe the best image quality to performance ratio. Yes, 68 FPS, and as you can see with like 60 FPS you get about 120 FPS. So it's just inserting doubling up your frame rate exactly, this technology. This game looks very good as compared to many other games that have come out in 2023, and this is a very recent title, so I wanted to check this out first. And as you can see, with 60 FPS we are getting on the top right corner 120 FPS with AFMF, and the image quality is not that bad. Alright guys, so that does it for Assassin's Creed Mirage. Let's move on to the next game. Alright guys, the second game is Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. Now let's go over the settings here. We are actually using, in the graphical options, I've enabled ultra settings, ultra preset, and I've enabled FSR2 on quality at 0.5 sharpness. Let me just increase it a little bit, like 70% sharpness. And yeah, so everything else is the same except for this motion blur and stuff is turned off. We are at 1080p resolution. Yeah, so as you can see right there, with FSR3 AFMF enabled in the driver, we're getting 47 FPS here, but as you can see on the top right corner is 100 FPS, so that is a sizable increase. It gets close to this actually gets close to my display's refresh rate, which is 144 Hz, so it becomes way smoother than before, and the image is still sharper. As you can see, maybe on the YouTube you cannot see it perfectly, but staying close to 60 FPS is what AMD recommends. So yeah, using these settings in the Phantom Liberty, outside as you can see we're getting like higher 40 sometimes, but close to 50 FPS, 55 FPS most of the times, and your actual FPS which you're going to see on the screen is 100 to 130 most of the times. Alright, so let's just go here and try to just do some things. Looking at this, maybe I need to decrease the settings a little bit to get 60 FPS as a locked, or more than 60 FPS a little bit, but it's alright still. We're getting maxed out GPU usage right now at 100 FPS with AFMF enabled, and with car driving also you get about 80 FPS, 80-70. So yeah, it becomes a little bit more intensive when you're driving a car, and sometimes it also lags. So yeah, that's the head up for you guys. If you guys want to decrease the settings a little bit, you can go ahead and do that to get close to 60 FPS in your MSI Afterburner overlay, and in your actual FPS you will get about 120 to 130. Alright guys, let's move on to the fourth game. Now the next game is Forspoken. Now what we're gonna do in this game, actually I've adjusted this graphical settings somehow here, and as you can see right here, we're at 1080p with full screen, and in the graphical option I've adjusted these low settings and standard settings, and I've enabled FSR3 on quality with frame gen on. So in game the frame gen is on right now, and also with frame gen on in game we are getting 100 FPS. But on top of that, what I did was I actually enabled AFMF in the driver level for this game also. So that made the frame rate also double up again. So as you can see right there, we're getting like 180 FPS. That is very good guys. At 1080p at these settings on RX 6600 you can get about 180 FPS. I cannot say the best, it can be the best image quality, but it's still very viewable and it's very playable, and I cannot feel any kind of lag, which we could just say, you could just say input lag. I cannot feel any kind of an input lag as far as I am playing the game. So you guys can see that we are getting like 200 FPS, sometimes 180 FPS with both frame gens enabled from the driver and inside the game. I wanted to check this game out due to this reason, because I wanted to actually know that if we enable both of them, does it work? And yeah, it does. It does actually double up the FPS again. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to go ahead and in the game settings I am going to disable this frame generation option here. Alright, so by disabling it in the game you get 60 FPS from the game with these settings, about 60 with 55 to 60 FPS, and you get 120, the same case as Assassin's Creed Mirage. So that is amazing guys. Now let's move on to the next game. Next up we have Fortnite guys, and I'm going to check this game because I think many of you guys will be telling me that this is actually a competitive game and you shouldn't be playing it with any kind of a frame generation and anything. But let me tell you that actually I need more frames in every game. In every competitive game we need more frames, and we can increase the graphical options we want if we want, or we can get more frames if we want. Now in this case, first I am going to use the default settings which the game actually gave me first. What happened when I launched the game, I just turned the TSR to medium and custom 70%, and everything else is like this, which the game gave me these settings. Alright, so let's get into a match and see how we do. Alright guys, so we are in a match now, and this is night time. Right now the game looks beautiful because Lumen and Nanite are enabled. I'm getting like 75 FPS while dropping on those graphical options, like 60. So AMD recommends to be more than 55 FPS in their graphical in the GPU driver notes, and I've just checked that, and it says to be more than 55 FPS while enabling AFMF, and right now we're well above that, and we are getting, as you can see on the top right corner of the screen, we are getting far more FPS. But and we are able to actually use Nanite and everything now on AMD too, while being competitive also. As you can see, 130, 135, and the game doesn't even look that bad. When you're turning your camera a lot faster, and it actually disables and automatically and causes your frame rate to come back to the base frame rate. As you can see when I will do this, yes, as you can see on the top right corner, my frame rate is getting back. So it's not an issue when you're trying to move your camera fast, and you will get a very smooth transition. You will not get hitches or anything. As you can see, my games are smooth. They're not having any hitches, or yeah. And also while building, you can see, yeah, while building the FPS drops a little bit, but that's actually a game issue. It always lags while building and editing and stuff. So that's what Fortnite has to fix themselves. We cannot do anything about that. But right now, as you can see, from the base frame rate, which is 67, 68, 71 FPS, let's start counting the FPS for an average frame rate. We are getting like 120 to 130 FPS, which is close to my monitor's refresh rate. And this has enabled me to use nanite. Now this is the basic advantage for this technology. When you are at 60 FPS or close to 60, like 55, you can enable this setting, and afterwards you will be able to have more FPS in games and reach your closer to your monitor's refresh rate if you are using a high refresh rate monitor. Let's just kill this llama and see the effects on the screen, which some kind of party poppers or something. Yeah, so they look good. There is not much of a shimmery mess, but as soon as you go below the recommended frame rate, which is 55, you will start to see very smudgy screen, as we saw in the previous games. The textures also look good. As I move my camera, they don't look bad. Shadows are just like this in this game, so it cannot be done anything on these settings. So yeah, I seriously would recommend you guys to use these as much as you can, because they actually improve the frame rate a lot. Let's move on to the next game now. We are in Gangs of Theater. Now this game came out, I don't know when it came out, but actually this is a demo for the game that they gave out. So for us to try the game, right now I'm using full screen 1080p and I'm using maximum settings right here. Alright, and I've enabled the AMD Fluid Motion Frames in the driver. As you can see on the top right corner, we're getting very high frame rates, and the bottom left corner we're getting like close to 70 to 65. Sometimes the game is lagging a little bit, but it is actually a demo, so we don't have any issues with that. It will improve with time. Alright, so let's keep on moving forward and let's see if we can find any kind of graphical glitches. Yeah, as you can see, as soon as we get like as soon as we get like close to 51, 52 FPS, we get very smudgy screen. So I would recommend you guys to turn down the settings if you're going to play this game. So yeah guys, as you can see, we are getting like close to from 50 FPS to about 80 FPS on these settings, and that will actually net you close to 120 to 150 FPS. Alright, so that is very good frame rate with AFMF, and I hope you guys are enjoying the video currently at this point. If you are, then please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Alright, so 61 FPS, sometimes 60. Now this is the power up that I used actually, and it's causing some frame rate drops, but it's alright. We have AFMF enabled, so it's causing the game to be very smooth, and there is not much input lag also. As you can see, only frame gen lag is 20 to 21, which is not that much. Alright, I think that's enough for this game, guys. Let's go move on ahead. Alright guys, so I've tried to enable AMD Fluid Motion Frames in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, but whenever I try to launch the game and try to record the video, what happens is the game crashes and it crashes my whole system. I've done this 2 times and still this is happening, so I wouldn't recommend you guys to actually go ahead and enable AFMF in this game specifically. But in the future, if the game is patched and if the driver gets new patches and this is actually launchable and you can play the game, then I would recommend 1080p FSR 2.2 on quality with high settings, and this will let you a very good frame rate on this GPU at close to about 50 to 55 FPS, and you will be able to play the game at around 100 FPS with AFMF. Let's move on ahead. Welcome to Robocop Rogue City. Now this game I've just recently benchmarked it on my YouTube channel. If you guys not watched the video, just go ahead for an extensive graphical settings and the showdown with the RX 6600. But let's just go ahead over the settings. I've just enabled some high settings here. All of the settings are on high, and we're at FSR 2.2 quality mode in the game. And right now we're getting like 60 FPS averages most of the times. And I've enabled AFMF in the drivers, as you can see on the top right corner of the screen. We are getting 120 to 125 FPS most of the times. We just got a stutter. This frame rate is on the streets actually. As soon as we will enter an area for a mission, we will get more FPS most of the times, more higher than 60. So it gets close to your if you have got a high refresh rate monitor, it will get close to your 144 FPS, or you will get to about your, if you got a 120 hertz monitor, if you got a 144 hertz monitor, it will get actually close to that. All right, so yeah, sometimes it's dropping, and this game has an issue with FSR 2.2 in general, because as you can see, as soon as I move my mouse, the road starts to become shimmery. So this is not a very good look. I hope the developers, when this game actually launches, they go ahead and fix this issue and try to make it a little bit better for the upscalers to work with this. Alright, so let's move on to the next game. Next up is Starfield. Now what we are using right now in the settings, we are actually using borderless full screen mode, and we are using these custom settings. If you guys want to copy them, you can do that right here. We're using 66% resolution scaling for FSR2, and sharpening is at 70%. Alright guys, so these settings are the settings that I use usually for my gameplay. Close to 60 FPS. It makes me close to 60 FPS. I'm just gonna start counting the FPS. This is kind of a cyberpunky area, and as you can see on the top right corner of the screen, actually the overlay, AMD's own overlay, is not able to record this game's FPS with Fluid Motion Frames enabled. It's not able to show us any kind of an FPS improvement in this, but actually we are getting close to, I can feel it, it's getting close to 120 FPS, and I cannot see any graphical anomalies or glitches on the screen. If you could tell me in the comment section below from your side, but I cannot see any graphical anomalies or glitches. These are fan blades spinning, and there is not much ghosting, as you can see right there. At 60 FPS base frame rate, this performs really well, and I commend these guys. These guys have done a great job in the driver level, because these games don't have frame generation and still they're able to run. And we're on the 6th game right now, I think, and in this game still, except for Ratchet and Clank, which has a weird issue when I start recording it, it just crashes the game. So I was not able to record the gameplay, but still with frame generation, if it works from the driver level, it will become very playable from previously, because that game's frame rate is very bad. As you could see my previous videos when I checked it out. If you have not checked it out, go ahead and at my channel you will be able to find it on RX 6600 how it does perform. But nonetheless, on this in these settings in Starfield, you can get about 60 FPS, close to 60 FPS average, and about 120 FPS with AFMF enabled. Now let's move on ahead to the next game. Alright guys, so the last game of the bunch is actually Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I just wanted to check this technology in a game that was released a few years back, like in the previous generation of consoles, and I wanted to check out if it was capable enough to actually be running on a very old game. And to my surprise, it's running pretty fine. It's doing its work. It's actually increasing the FPS to double time. There's a double increase in the FPS. It's doing its work, and it's not causing any issues. Currently, one issue that I've encountered is that the base frame rate is very low. So what I'm going to do is basically go to display and graphics, and I've enabled ray trace shadow quality in this game. This is Shadow of Tomb Raider, so basically you have some RTX shadows in this by the name. So as soon as we go to medium shadow quality, you get base frame rate as 60, and as you can see now, we don't have any issues with the screen imaging. and we don't get any kind of blurriness in the screen, and everything looks smooth. Also, let me just try to attack something. Yeah, so we don't have any ghostiness or smudginess on the screen. And as you can see, the frame rate counter, I'm not able to get that MSI Afterburner working. It's causing this game to crash. And I remember that previously when it was released, it had the same issue. There were some issues with MSI Afterburner when this game was released, and they are still there. I mean, still there after so many years. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It was a rundown recording all of them, so I would really appreciate if you guys could leave a like, and please share this video as much as you can to other people, so they can know that you can increase the FPS this much in games these days by AMD AFMF. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. Many of you guys who are watching these videos actually are not subscribed, so I would seriously recommend you to subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video, and peace out.